A soft voice spoke from his ship's console. An AI system, calm and precise. Empire response teams estimate full recovery of station awareness in approximately 4 minutes. Recommend completing data extraction within 90 seconds to maintain safety margin. Copy that, Rin said quietly, guiding his ship through the now open path toward the station's inner structure. Let's make this quick. He thought about the message from Vorin still echoing faintly in his memory. The confusion, the fear, the disbelief in the Admiral's voice. It was the same reaction Rin had seen from every Empire officer he had encountered so far. They believed they were the strongest force in the galaxy. Nothing had ever proven them wrong. Until now. You know, Rin said to his ship's AI, half to himself. They really thought 200 ships would be enough. Based on their technological development, their confidence was statistically reasonable, the AI replied. They have never encountered adaptive flight algorithms of this level before. Rin allowed himself a small, tired smile. Yeah, that's kind of the point. He guided the ship lower, weaving through the outer structure of Halgan Station with practiced ease, avoiding scattered debris from the fallen shield. Around him, Empire ships were beginning to reposition, though clearly still in chaos from the sudden shield collapse. Multiple weapon locks detected, the AI reported calmly. Recommend evasive pattern 7. Do it, Rin said, leaning back slightly as his ship shifted into another impossible sequence of turns, sliding effortlessly between incoming fire from confused Empire gunners still trying to reorganize their defense. None of the shots came close. Back in the command room, Vorin watched helplessly as the small vessel disappeared into the lower structure of the station, heading directly for the shielded chamber that housed the central data core. Sir, security teams report the vessel has bypassed 3 additional internal checkpoints, an officer reported, disbelief thick in his voice. It's moving like it already knows the layout of the station. That's impossible, Vorin said. That layout is classified, only top command has access to it. Sir, I don't think that matters to whoever built this ship. Vorin's mind spun. If this vessel already knew the internal structure of one of the Empire's most secure stations, what else did they know? How long had they been watching? How long had the Empire assumed it was completely alone in this sector, unchallenged and untouchable, while something far more advanced quietly studied their every move from the shadows? Sir, incoming message from High Command, Petra said suddenly, her voice tight with urgency. They've seen the reports. They're demanding to know how a single unidentified vessel breached Halgan's strongest shield in under 3 minutes. Vorin closed his eyes briefly. He did not have an answer that would satisfy High Command. He barely had an answer that satisfied himself. Tell them the truth, Vorin said finally. Tell them we are dealing with something we do not understand. Something calling itself human. Deep inside the station, the small vessel reached the outer wall of the data core chamber. Unlike everything before it, this final barrier was not made of shield energy, but solid reinforced metal, nearly a meter thick, built to withstand direct planetary bombardment. Structural analysis complete, the AI reported. Recommend precision breach at marked coordinates. A thin, focused beam of light extended from beneath Rin's ship, cutting cleanly through a small section of the wall with quiet precision. There was no explosion, no dramatic destruction, just a calm, controlled entry, exactly as planned. Rin guided his ship through the opening into the heart of the data core chamber, a vast room filled with rows of glowing servers and control panels, humming quietly with information the Empire considered its most valuable secret. Beginning extraction, the AI said. Streams of data began flowing rapidly across Rin's console. Fleet positions, weapon specifications, shield technology blueprints, and defense grid layouts for the entire sector. Information the Empire had spent decades gathering and protecting, now being copied in mere seconds. Rin watched the numbers scroll past, his expression unreadable. This was not a moment of triumph for him. It was simply necessary. Extraction 60% complete, the AI reported. Alarms echoed faintly through the chamber walls, distant but growing louder. Empire security forces were closing in, though clearly still struggling to catch up to a situation none of them fully understood. They're getting close, Rin muttered. Recommend maintaining position. Extraction will complete in 18 seconds. Rin's eyes remained fixed on the data stream, patient despite the growing noise outside. He had trained for exactly this, for moments where patience mattered more than speed, where one wrong move could turn a clean mission into chaos. Extraction complete, the AI finally announced. Rin exhaled slowly. Time to go. His ship reversed smoothly out through the breach it had created, back into the open corridors of the station, weapons fire already beginning to chase behind him from confused defenders finally catching up to his position. As his ship cleared the outer structure of Halgan Station and returned to open space, Rin glanced briefly at the massive Empire fleet still repositioning behind him, their formation broken and disorganized from the entire encounter. Openly transmitting a farewell message to Empire fleet, Admiral Vorin specifically, the AI offered. Rin considered this for a moment, then nodded. Do it. A short transmission went out across every Empire channel in range, Rin's calm voice carrying clearly through static and confusion. Thank you for the information, Admiral. You should know, this was never really about your data core. It was about proving something to you, something you clearly still don't understand. In the command room, Vorin listened silently, his expression grim. And what is that? He asked quietly, though he knew Rin could not hear him directly. As if answering anyway, Rin's voice continued, calm and final. Your empire is not the strongest power in this galaxy. Not anymore. The transmission ended. The small vessel turned, accelerated and disappeared into the darkness of space, leaving behind a broken shield, a defeated fleet, and an empire forced to face a terrifying new truth. They were no longer alone. And whoever, or whatever, humanity truly was, this single scout ship was only the very beginning. 3 days passed after the attack on Halgan Station, and the Empire had not slept. In the highest tower of the Imperial capital, a massive circular room overlooked the entire city below. This was the War Council chamber, where the Empire's 12 highest commanders gathered only in times of true crisis. Today, every seat was filled. At the head of the table sat Supreme Marshal Kessin, a man who had led the Empire's military for over 15 years. He was broad-shouldered, gray-haired, with a voice that rarely rose above a calm, controlled tone. That control was now being tested. Let me understand this clearly, Kessin said, his eyes moving slowly across the room. One ship, one pilot, broke through our strongest shield in under 3 minutes, disabled our best fighter squadron without killing anyone, stole classified defense data from one of our most protected stations, and walked away untouched. No one answered right away. Grand Admiral Vorin, still shaken from the encounter days earlier, finally spoke. That is correct, Marshal, and there is more. More? Kessin's eyebrow rose. The pilot identified himself as human, Vorin said, a species with no record in any Empire database. Before he left, he made it clear this was not an isolated event. He implied there are more ships like his, possibly many more. The room fell into tense murmurs. 12 of the Empire's most powerful commanders, each controlling fleets that had conquered entire star systems, and none of them had ever heard the word human before this week. This cannot go unanswered, said Commander Threll, a sharp-faced woman known for her aggressive tactics. If word spreads that a single unknown ship humiliated an entire Empire fleet, every rebel group and rival power in this galaxy will see it as weakness. We must respond with overwhelming force. Respond how? Vorin asked. We already sent 200 ships. We sent our best pilot. None of it mattered. Then we send more, Threll snapped. 1,000 ships if necessary. Against one ship? Vorin said, his voice edged with disbelief. Marshal, with respect, throwing more numbers at this problem did not work the first time. It will not work now. We do not even understand what we are fighting. Kessin raised a hand, silencing the room. Admiral Vorin makes a fair point. Before we send another fleet to be embarrassed, we need answers. What does intelligence know about this human species? A quiet officer near the back of the room stood up, His name was Analyst Corin, a younger man responsible for gathering data across Empire-controlled space. He looked nervous, holding a small datapad tightly in his hands. "Marshal, we've reviewed old records from the outer border regions," Corin said. "There are fragments, old reports from scout ships decades ago, mentioning strange, unidentified signals from a distant, unexplored region of space. At the time, they were dismissed as sensor errors or natural phenomena." "And now?" Kessin asked. "Now we believe those signals may have come from human territory," Corin said. "A region we've never fully explored because our expansion always focused on closer, weaker systems. Nothing moves through a sensor net that large without warning." "Sir, I don't think they came through the net," Pharaoh said quietly. "I think they were already inside it, hiding somehow, and now they're just turning on." Dellen's face went pale. He grabbed the comm unit. "This is Outpost Delta 9, emergency priority signal. We have 50-plus unidentified vessels within our sector. Repeat, 50-plus unidentified contacts, requesting immediate—" The transmission cut off. Dellen stared at his comm unit, tapping it uselessly. "Pharaoh, why did that cut off?" Pharaoh's fingers flew across his console, checking every system, his face drained of color. "Sir, our long-range comm array is down, completely dead. I don't know how, there's no damage report, it's just offline." "They cut our communication," Dellen said slowly, understanding dawning on his face. "Before we could even finish the message." On the main screen, the 50 contacts began moving, sliding smoothly through space in a wide, coordinated formation, heading directly toward the small outpost. "Sir, what do we do?" Pharaoh asked, his voice tight with fear. Outpost Delta 9 had a defense capability of exactly 6 patrol ships and a handful of light turrets. It was never built to fight a real battle. It was built to watch and report. And now it could not even report. "All hands, defensive positions," Dellen ordered, though his voice betrayed how hollow the order felt. "Signal every nearby outpost through short-range relay. Someone has to know what's happening here." Aboard the lead human vessel, larger and more heavily built than Rin's small scout ship, Fleet Admiral Mara Voss watched the outpost's frantic, disorganized defense attempts on her main screen, with quiet focus. "Their communication array is fully disabled," a young officer reported. "They can't reach any of their larger command networks." "Good," Mara said. "Time until we're within full range of the outpost?" 90 seconds, Admiral." Beside her, Rin stood watching the same screen, his expression unreadable. Unlike his solo mission 6 months earlier, this was different. This was not scouting. This was the beginning of something far larger. "You're sure about this?" Rin asked quietly, only for Mara to hear. "They've spent 6 months preparing new defenses, doubling patrols, hardening their borders," Mara said. "If we wait any longer, this becomes far harder than it needs to be. We take this outpost quickly, quietly, and use it to gather everything we still don't know about their deeper border network." "And if it escalates?" Rin asked. Mara's eyes remained steady on the screen. "It was always going to escalate eventually, Rin. Better it happens on our terms, while we still hold the advantage of surprise." The human fleet closed the final distance toward Outpost Delta 9. Inside the outpost, chaos had fully taken hold. All 6 patrol ships had launched, forming a desperate, thin line of defense in front of the incoming formation. Turret operators locked onto targets with shaking hands. Every alarm in the station screamed at once. "They're not slowing down," Pharaoh reported, watching the approaching fleet on radar. "Sir, they're not even attempting to communicate. They're just coming." Captain Dellen gripped the edge of his console tightly. "All turrets, fire at will the moment they're in range. Patrol ships, hold formation. Do not break early." The human fleet entered weapons range. Delta 9's turrets opened fire immediately, sending a scattered wave of energy blasts toward the approaching ships. It was nothing compared to what the Iron Crown had unleashed months earlier, but it was everything this tiny outpost had. The human fleet did not even attempt to dodge in any dramatic fashion. They simply adjusted course slightly, smoothly gliding around the incoming fire with calm, minor corrections, continuing forward without pause. "Sir, none of our shots are landing," Pharaoh said, disbelief thick in his voice, though somehow he was not surprised. He had read every report from Halgan. He had hoped quietly that those reports had been exaggerated. They had not been. "Patrol ships, engage," Delin ordered. The 6 small patrol vessels surged forward, weapons blazing, throwing themselves directly into the path of the massive incoming formation. It was a hopeless move, and every pilot in those ships likely knew it. But orders were orders, and the Empire did not train its pilots to retreat. The human fleet's response was almost gentle by comparison to what it could have been. Precise, targeted shots disabled each patrol ship's engines one by one, leaving them drifting harmlessly in space rather than destroying them outright. Within seconds, all 6 ships were powerless, their pilots alive but helpless. "They're doing it again," Pharaoh whispered. "Just like at Halgan. They're not trying to kill us." Delin stared at the screen, watching the human fleet continue its approach toward the outpost itself, completely unopposed now that the defense had been neutralized. "Then what are they trying to do?" he asked quietly. He got his answer moments later as the lead human vessel opened a direct communication channel to the outpost. "Outpost Delta 9, this is Fleet Admiral Mara Voss of the Human Coalition Fleet." Mara's voice came through clearly, calm and controlled. "Your defenses have been neutralized. Your communication array is offline. Resistance at this point will only result in unnecessary casualties. Stand down, and no further harm will come to your personnel." Captain Delin's hands trembled slightly as he reached for the comm unit. "This is Captain Delin, commanding officer of Outpost Delta 9. What do you want from us?" "Information," Mara said simply. "And a message delivered to your Empire, once we're finished here." "A message?" Delin repeated. "Tell your leadership this," Mara said, her tone shifting slightly, growing firmer, more deliberate. "The Empire's expansion has reached the edge of territory that does not belong to them. We have watched your growth for years. We know your strength, your weaknesses, your strategies. Today marks the beginning of a clear boundary between Empire space and Human Coalition space. Cross that boundary again, and the response will not be as gentle as it has been today." Delin swallowed hard, absorbing the weight of every word. "And if we don't deliver this message?" "You will," Mara said simply. "Because we're leaving your comm array intact once we depart. Specifically so that message reaches exactly who it needs to reach." Within the hour, human ships had docked briefly with Delta 9's outer structure, extracting select data systems with the same calm efficiency Rin had shown months earlier at Halgan Station. No violence, no destruction beyond what was strictly necessary. Just quiet, precise, controlled action. As quickly as they had arrived, the human fleet departed, disappearing back into the darkness of unexplored space, leaving Outpost Delta 9 drifting in stunned silence, its defenses broken, its personnel shaken but alive. Captain Delin sat heavily in his chair, staring at the empty space where 50 ships had been only minutes earlier. Around him, his crew worked quietly to restore basic systems, none of them speaking much. The shock of the encounter still settling over the entire outpost. "Sir," Pharaoh said quietly, breaking the silence. "Comm array's back online. Should we send the message?" Delin closed his eyes briefly, thinking of everything that had just happened. 50 ships, a single admiral's calm, confident voice, a clear warning delivered without a single unnecessary death. This was not simply a raid. This was a declaration. "Send it," Delin said quietly. "Send everything. Every word, exactly as she said it." 3 days later, the message reached the Imperial capital, delivered directly to the War Council chamber where Supreme Marshal Kessin and his commanders had gathered once again, faces grim as they listened to the full report from Outpost Delta 9. When the recording finished playing, silence stretched long and heavy across the chamber. Finally, Commander Threll spoke, her voice quieter than it had been 6 months earlier. The earlier confidence replaced by something closer to genuine concern. 50 ships, a full coordinated fleet, not a single scout this time. And still, minimal casualties, Vorin added. They could have destroyed that outpost completely. They chose not to. A message of strength delivered without unnecessary bloodshed, Kessin said slowly, staring at the star map still displayed on the chamber's main screen. That is not the behavior of a desperate, weak civilization. That is the behavior of a power that knows exactly how strong it is and feels no need to prove it through excessive violence. The room absorbed this heavy realization together. What are your orders, Marshal? Vorin finally asked. Kessin remained silent for a long moment, staring at the vast unexplored region of space beyond Empire borders, the space this new human coalition apparently called home. We honor the boundary, Kessin said finally, his voice carrying a weight none of the other commanders had heard from him before. For now. For now? Threll asked. Kessin turned to face his full council, his expression hardening with quiet determination. The Empire does not simply accept limits placed on it by unknown outsiders, he said. We will respect this boundary while we learn everything we possibly can about this human coalition. Their numbers, their technology, their true capabilities. And when we are ready... He paused, his eyes narrowing slightly as he looked back at the star map. We will decide for ourselves where the true boundaries of this galaxy lie, far beyond the reach of Empire scanners, deep within the quiet darkness of uncharted space. The human coalition fleet continued its careful watch, fully aware that peace between two such different powers rarely lasted long. Both sides now understood one simple truth. They were no longer alone in this galaxy. And somewhere in the vast silence between their two territories, the next chapter of this conflict was already quietly beginning to take shape. Kessin leaned back slowly in his chair, absorbing this. So while we spent 50 years conquering everything within easy reach, this species was quietly developing somewhere just outside our notice. It appears that way, Marshal. The room grew heavier with tension. For an empire that prided itself on total awareness of its surroundings, the idea that an entire civilization had grown unnoticed nearby was deeply unsettling. What do we know about their military capability? Threll asked. Corin hesitated before responding. Based on the single ship encountered at Halgan Station, we know very little. If that vessel was simply a scout, not built for combat, then their true military strength is unknown. It could be far greater than what we witnessed. The silence that followed was heavy with unspoken fear. Far beyond Empire borders, in a region of space the Empire had never fully mapped, a very different scene was unfolding. A massive human fleet gathered quietly in the shadow of a large asteroid belt, hidden from any distant scanners. Unlike the Empire's grand, decorated warships, human vessels were built with simple, practical designs. Dark, angular hulls, minimal decoration, every inch built for function rather than show. Inside the command ship, a large but simple bridge buzzed with quiet, focused activity. At the center stood Fleet Admiral Mara Voss, a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and short gray hair pulled back tightly. She reviewed data on a large central screen, her expression calm but serious. Beside her stood Rin, still in his flight suit, having just returned from his mission days earlier. You confirmed everything we needed? Mara asked. Fleet positions, weapon specs, shield technology, defense grid layout for 3 full sectors, Rin said. Everything's been analyzed already. Mara studied the data on the screen closely. Rows of Empire fleet formations, defense stations, and weapon capabilities filled the display. Their technology is impressive in scale, she said, but predictable. Rigid formations, heavy reliance on brute force rather than adaptive strategy. That matches what I saw, Rin said. 200 ships fired everything they had all at once, all in the same pattern. No adjustments, no creativity. Mara nodded slowly. That confirms our assessment. They've grown used to easy victories against weaker civilizations. They've never faced an equal. Are we still equal? A younger officer nearby asked quietly. Their fleet numbers are still far greater than ours. Mara turned to him, her expression steady. Numbers alone do not win wars. We proved that days ago with a single scout ship. She turned back to the main screen. But you're right to be cautious. This is only the beginning. She looked at Rin. Your mission confirmed something else important, didn't it? Rin nodded. Their border sector is closer to our territory than we originally believed. If they continue their current expansion pattern, they'll reach the edge of human space within the next few years. The room grew quiet at this news. For decades, humanity had grown and developed quietly, expanding carefully, avoiding unnecessary conflict, always watching the wider galaxy from a safe distance. That safety was now clearly running out. Which is exactly why this mission mattered, Mara said firmly. We needed to know exactly what we're facing before they ever knew we existed. Now we do. She turned to address the full bridge crew, her voice rising with quiet authority. The Empire believes they encountered a single, unexplainable ship. They do not yet understand what that ship represents. They do not know that for every scout vessel like Rin's, we have 20 more equally capable ships ready to deploy. They do not know the true size of our fleet, our technology, or our resolve. She paused, letting the weight of her next words settle across the room. And that ignorance is our greatest advantage. Back in the Empire's War Council chamber, tension continued to build as commanders argued over their next course of action. We cannot simply wait for them to attack us first, Threll insisted. We must find their home territory and strike before they grow any stronger. With what? Vorin countered. We don't even know where their territory begins. Sending scattered patrols into unknown space is how we lose entire fleets blindly. Supreme Marshal Kessin remained silent for a long moment, considering both sides carefully. Finally he spoke. We will do neither, he said. We will not blindly attack, and we will not simply wait. The room turned to him, waiting. We will begin a full intelligence operation, Kessin continued. Quiet reconnaissance, careful expansion of our border patrols. We will learn everything we can about this species before making any large decision. If they truly possess technology capable of embarrassing an entire fleet with a single ship, then charging blindly into their territory would be suicide. Threll frowned but did not argue further. Vorin nodded slowly, relieved that caution had won over recklessness, at least for now. In the meantime, Kessin added, his voice growing colder, increase production on all border defense stations, double security protocols on every classified data center. If this human species decides to test us again, I want the Empire ready. The council began to disperse, officers moving quickly to carry out new orders, the weight of uncertainty hanging heavily over the room. Vorin remained behind for a moment, staring silently at the large star map still displayed on the chamber's main screen. Somewhere beyond the mapped borders of Empire territory, an entire unknown civilization waited quietly in the dark, watching, learning, preparing. For the first time in his long military career, Vorin felt something he had never truly experienced before. Uncertainty about the future. Meanwhile, aboard the hidden human fleet, Rin stood alone near a large viewport, staring out at the quiet stars beyond. Mara approached and stood beside him silently for a moment before speaking. You did well out there, she said. They're going to come looking for us eventually, Rin replied quietly, once they realize how close their border actually is to our territory. I know, Mara said, but now we'll be ready when they do. Rin turned to look at her. Are we, though? Their fleet numbers are still massive. Even with everything we learned, we're still vastly outnumbered. Mara offered a small, confident smile. Numbers only matter if both sides are playing the same game, Rin. The Empire believes strength comes from size. We've built our entire strategy around speed, precision, and information. They still don't understand that difference. And by the time they do... She looked back out at the stars, her expression turning serious. It will already be too late for them to adjust. Far beyond the viewport, hidden deep within the shadows of unexplored space, more human ships continued gathering quietly, preparing for a future none of them could avoid. The Empire had spent 50 years believing they stood alone as the strongest power in the galaxy, unchallenged and unstoppable. They were about to learn just how wrong they had been. Somewhere out in the endless darkness between two waiting civilizations, The countdown to a much larger conflict had already begun, and neither side would ever be the same again. यहाँ पार्ट 5 है। स्टोरी को आगे एक्सटेंड करते हुए नया चैप्टर इसी यूनिवर्स में। Empire on edge, unknown vessel detected. Nothing in the galaxy could catch it. Part 5, The First Strike. 6 months passed since the Halgan Station incident, and the Empire had changed. New defense stations rose along every border sector. Patrol numbers doubled, then tripled. Every commander in the Empire now carried one thought in the back of their mind, no matter what mission they were assigned. Somewhere out there, an unknown enemy was watching, waiting, learning. At Outpost Delta 9, a small border station on the edge of mapped Empire space, Lieutenant Farrow stood his usual night shift, staring at a wall of quiet sensor screens. Nothing ever happened at Delta 9. It was the kind of posting officers were sent to when they had upset someone important. Farrow had upset several important people. He sipped his drink, bored, half watching the steady green lines scroll across his console. Then one line flickered. Farrow sat up straighter. He tapped the screen, waiting for the flicker to repeat. It did not. Just a single, brief anomaly, gone as fast as it appeared. Probably nothing, he muttered to himself. He almost dismissed it. Almost. But 6 months of new protocols had drilled one lesson into every border officer's head. Nothing gets dismissed anymore. Not since Halgan. Farrow flagged the anomaly and sent it up the chain, then went back to his drink, expecting nothing more to come of it. He was wrong. 2 hours later, alarms tore through Outpost Delta 9. Farrow dropped his cup, sending it shattering across the floor as he scrambled to his console. Red lights bathed the small control room. On his main screen, dozens of new contacts had appeared out of nowhere, spread wide across a section of space that had shown nothing only minutes earlier. "Report!" his commanding officer shouted, rushing into the room. "Sir, multiple unidentified contacts just appeared on long-range scan," Farrow said, his voice cracking. I count 40. No, 50 separate signals." 50? The commanding officer, Captain Dellon, leaned over Farrow's shoulder, staring in disbelief at the screen. That's not possible. Space was quiet. Too quiet. On the bridge of the Empire warship Iron Crown, red lights flashed across every screen. Officers ran from station to station. Their boots hit the metal floor fast and hard. No one was calm. No one had time to be calm. Commander Rask stood at the center of the bridge. His hands were locked behind his back. His jaw was tight. He had commanded ships for 20 years. He had fought pirates, rebels, and enemy fleets. He had never seen anything like this. "Report," he said. His voice was flat, but his eyes were sharp. A young officer named Tellus turned from his console. His face was pale. "Sir, the target is still accelerating. We cannot get a lock." "That is not possible," Rask said. "Nothing outruns an Empire cruiser." "Sir, I know, but it is happening right now." On the main screen, a small dot moved across a field of green lines. The dot did not look dangerous. It was tiny compared to the Iron Crown. It was smaller than a single Empire fighter, but it moved in a way that made no sense. It turned sharply, at full speed, without slowing down. No known engine could do that. No pilot could survive turns like that. "Increase power to the main cannons," Rask ordered. "Target the vessel. Fire at will." The ship shook as the cannons charged. Blue energy built up along the hull. Then, with a deep hum, the Iron Crown released 3 heavy blasts toward the small dot on the screen. Every officer on the bridge held their breath. The blasts crossed the black space in seconds. They should have hit. They should have turned the tiny ship into dust. They did not. "Sir," Tellus said, his voice shaking now, "all 3 shots missed." "Missed?" Rask stepped closer to the screen. "How does a ship that small dodge 3 heavy cannon blasts at this range?" No one answered. No one had an answer. On the screen, the dot moved again. This time it turned directly toward the Iron Crown. It was not running away anymore. It was coming closer. "Sir, the vessel changed course," Tellus said. "It is now heading straight for us." Rask's eyes narrowed. In 20 years, no enemy had ever turned toward an Empire cruiser like this. Enemies ran, enemies hid, enemies begged for mercy when Empire ships appeared. This ship did none of that. It was flying toward them like it had nothing to fear. "All weapons fire," Rask shouted. "Do not let it get close." The Iron Crown lit up the darkness. Missiles launched from every side of the ship. Turrets fired non-stop. The black space around the small vessel filled with fire and light. From far away, it looked like the little ship was flying straight into a storm of death. Then silence. The smoke cleared. The screen updated. The small ship was still there, still moving, still fast. Not a single hit had landed. Tellus stared at his screen, his mouth open. "Sir, this is impossible. We fired everything. Nothing touched it." Commander Rask did not answer right away. His mind raced. He had studied Empire history. He had studied every known species in the galaxy. He had studied their weapons, their ships, their tricks. Nothing matched this. This was not a known enemy. "Identify the vessel," he ordered. "Pull every database we have. Now." Officers typed fast. Screens flashed through hundreds of ship designs, pirate ships, rebel ships, alien empires from the far edge of known space. Nothing matched. The little ship's shape did not appear anywhere in Empire records. "Sir," said another officer, a woman named Dara, "there is no match. This ship type does not exist in any database." "Then log it as unknown," Rask said, "and keep firing." The battle continued. Missile after missile, blast after blast. The small ship dodged everything. It moved like it already knew where every shot would land before it was fired. It was not luck. Luck did not last this long. This was skill, or something even harder to explain. Rask felt something cold settle in his stomach. Fear. He had not felt fear in a long time. "Sir, the vessel is now within visual range," Tellus said. The main screen switched to a live camera feed. For the first time, the crew saw the ship with their own eyes. It was small, smooth, dark gray, almost black, like it was built to disappear in space. It had no visible weapons, no large engines, no obvious armor. It looked simple, almost plain. And yet it had just survived a full assault from one of the Empire's strongest warships. "That's it?" Dara whispered. "That tiny thing dodged everything we had?" No one answered her. The small ship flew closer. It passed directly beside the Iron Crown, close enough that the crew could see every detail on their screens. Then, just as fast, it turned again and shot forward, deeper into Empire territory. "Sir, it's not attacking us," Tellus said. "It passed right by us. It could have hit us, but it didn't." Rask's frown deepened. This was worse than an attack. An attack he understood. Enemies attacked when they were strong. Enemies retreated when they were weak. But this ship ignored them completely, like the Iron Crown was not even worth attacking. "Where is it heading?" Rask asked. Dara checked her screen, her fingers moving fast. Her face went white. "Sir, its current course leads directly to Halgan Station." The bridge went silent. Halgan Station was not just another outpost. It was one of the most protected locations in the entire Empire. It held the central command systems for 3 full sectors. It stored classified defense plans. It controlled key shield generators that protected a dozen major worlds. If an enemy reached Halgan Station, they could steal information that would put millions of lives at risk. "That is not possible," Rask said quietly. "Halgan has a full defense fleet. It has planetary shields. Nothing gets through that." "Sir, this ship just dodged everything we fired at it," Tellus said. "I don't think not possible means anything to it." Rask turned to his communications officer. "Send an emergency signal to Halgan Command. Tell them an unknown vessel is inbound, extreme speed, unknown capability. Tell them to raise every shield they have." "Yes, sir." The signal went out immediately. But even as it was sent, everyone on the bridge understood something terrible. Halgan Station was still hours away, even at the unknown ship's incredible speed. But their warning would take time to process. Defense fleets would take time to organize, and this ship had already shown that time did not matter to it. "Pursue," Rask ordered. "Full speed. I want eyes on that ship every second until reinforcements arrive." The Iron Crown turned and pushed its engines to maximum. The chase began. Hours passed. The small vessel never slowed down, it never changed its pattern. It moved in long, smooth lines through space, occasionally making sharp, sudden turns that should have torn a normal ship apart. But this ship held together perfectly. Not a single hit, not a single moment of damage. On the bridge, tension grew with every passing minute. Officers whispered to each other. Some believed it was a new rebel weapon. Others believed it was something from outside known space, something the Empire had never encountered before. A few, quietly, feared it was something worse, a sign that the Empire was not as powerful as it believed. Commander Rask stood by the main screen, watching the chase unfold. He thought about everything he knew of Empire history. The Empire had conquered hundreds of worlds. It had defeated countless enemies. It had built the strongest military machine known in the galaxy. No force had ever challenged it and survived. Until now. "Sir," Dara said, breaking the silence, "we're receiving new data from long-range sensors. The vessel just passed through an asteroid field at full speed." "And?" Rask asked, and it did not slow down. Not even slightly. It went straight through without touching a single rock. Rask exhaled slowly. He had seen skilled pilots before. He had trained many of them himself. But this was different. This was not just skill. This felt like something built for exactly this kind of flying. Something designed from the very beginning to move faster and smarter than anything chasing it. "Do we have any theory on propulsion?" he asked. An engineer named Voss answered from his station. "Sir, based on the speed and turning ability, the ship must be using an engine type we've never recorded. Our best engines create heavy heat signatures when turning that fast. This ship produces almost no heat at all. It's barely trying." "Barely trying," Rask repeated softly. The words hung in the air. If this ship was moving at its top speed with ease, what would happen if it needed to fight seriously? The thought made the room feel colder. "Sir, incoming transmission from Halgan Command," the communications officer said. "Put it through." A voice came over the speakers, tense and urgent. "Iron Crown, this is Halgan Command. We received your warning. Shields are raised across the station. Defense fleet is moving into position. But Commander, our scanners are picking up something strange. The unknown vessel's projected path does not lead to the main station." Rask's eyebrows lowered. "Then where is it heading?" There was a pause. Static crackled over the line. "Sir, it's heading straight for our central data core, the most protected part of the entire station." The bridge went dead silent. Tellus turned to Rask, his voice barely above a whisper. "Sir, that's impossible to reach. It's buried under 6 layers of shielding. Nobody even knows the exact location outside of top command." "Someone knows," Rask said darkly. "Or something does." He turned back to the screen, watching the small dot continue its unstoppable path through space. A terrible thought formed in his mind, one he did not want to say out loud, but one he could no longer ignore. This was not a random attack. This was not some lost ship or lucky escape. This ship knew exactly where it was going. It knew exactly what it wanted. And nothing the Empire had tried, not weapons, not warships, not the fastest pursuit fleet in the sector, had been able to stop it, slow it, or even touch it. Rask clenched his fist. "Sir," Dara said quietly, staring at her screen. "New readings just came in. Whatever is powering that ship, it's not from any race in our records. The energy signature doesn't match anything the Empire has ever seen before." Rask's chest tightened. "Then who built it?" he asked. Who is flying it? No one on the bridge had an answer. The small vessel raced on through the darkness, calm, steady, and completely unafraid, heading straight for the heart of the Empire's greatest secrets, while behind it one of the mightiest warships in the galaxy chased helplessly, unable to do a single thing to stop it. And somewhere far away, on Halgan Station, alarms began to scream. Halgan Station was built to feel unbeatable. Its outer shell was thick gray metal, layered with 3 separate shield systems. Its defense fleet numbered over 200 ships. Its weapons could level a small moon in minutes. For 50 years, no enemy had ever come close to breaching it. The people who worked there had grown used to feeling safe. That safety was now gone. Inside the main command room, hundreds of screens lit up the dark space. Officers moved fast between stations, voices overlapping, alarms blaring every few seconds. At the center of it all stood Grand Admiral Vorin, the highest military leader in the sector. He was an older man, tall, with gray hair and a face that rarely showed emotion. Today his face showed something new. Worry. "Time until the vessel reaches the outer shield?" he asked. An officer checked his screen. 11 minutes, sir, maybe less. "And our fleet? And our 212 ships now in defensive formation around the station, sir. All weapons armed, all shields at full power." Vorin nodded slowly, but the movement did not carry confidence. He had reviewed the reports from the Iron Crown. He had seen the footage. A single, small, unknown ship had dodged an entire warship's arsenal without a scratch. And now that same ship was heading straight for his station, ignoring 200 defense vessels like they were nothing more than background noise. "Sir," said a younger officer named Petra, stepping closer, "should we attempt communication with the vessel before it reaches the shield?" Vorin considered this. In the old days, the Empire never asked. The Empire ordered, and enemies obeyed, or were destroyed. But something about this ship made him pause. It had not attacked the Iron Crown, even though it clearly could have. It had simply passed by. That was not normal enemy behavior. That was something else. "Try," Vorin said, "but do not expect an answer." Petra moved to a nearby console and opened a wide broadcast channel. "Unidentified vessel. This is Halgan Station Command. You are entering restricted Empire space. Turn back immediately, or you will be engaged with full force." Silence. The small ship did not slow down. It did not respond. It continued forward, steady and calm, like the message meant nothing at all. "No response, sir," Petra said. Vorin's jaw tightened. "Then we engage. Full defense fleet, weapons free the moment it enters range." Far above the station, the 200 ships of the Empire's defense fleet spread into a wide formation. Massive cruisers, fast attack ships, heavy gunships, all of them turned their weapons toward a single point in space, waiting for the small dot to arrive. Fleet Commander Yalen sat in the lead cruiser, watching the approach on his screen. He was a proud man, known across the Empire for winning difficult battles. He had crushed 3 rebel uprisings and destroyed a pirate fleet twice the size of his own. He did not fear a single ship, no matter what stories the Iron Crown had sent back. "This is Fleet Commander Yalen to all ships," he said over the comm. "One target, 200 of us. Let's not embarrass ourselves." A few officers chuckled nervously over the open channel. The tension in their voices betrayed their forced confidence. The small vessel appeared on the long-range scanners first as a faint dot, then grew clearer as it entered weapons range. Yalen studied it through the ship's camera feed. It looked exactly as described: small, dark gray, smooth, without visible weapons. It did not look like a warship at all. "Doesn't look like much," Yalen muttered. "Sir." The Iron Crown said the same thing. His second-in-command reminded him quietly. Yalen ignored the comment. "All ships, fire on my mark." The vessel entered the center of the formation, surrounded on all sides by Empire firepower. Fire. 200 ships unleashed everything they had. The space around the small vessel exploded into a storm of energy blasts, missiles, and heavy cannon fire. From a distance, it looked like a small sun had ignited in the middle of the fleet. Yalen watched, waiting for the flash of destruction that would end this whole situation. It never came. When the smoke and light cleared, the small ship was still there, still moving, untouched. "Sir, nothing hit it," an officer said, disbelief thick in his voice. Yalen's confident expression cracked. "Fire again. All batteries, continuous fire." The fleet unleashed another wave, then another. Explosions filled the space around the little ship in an endless storm, yet somehow, through it all, the vessel kept moving, twisting, turning, sliding between blasts with impossible precision, as if it could see every shot before it was even fired. "This isn't possible," Yalen whispered. The small ship moved deeper into the fleet's formation, gliding between massive cruisers like it was simply out for a calm flight. Then, without warning, it turned sharply toward Yalen's own lead cruiser. "Brace for impact," Yalen shouted. But there was no impact. The vessel flew close, passed directly over the top of the cruiser, and then continued straight through the fleet, heading toward the station's outer shield. "It's not attacking us," the second-in-command said slowly. "It's ignoring us, completely." Yalen's hands curled into fists. In all his years of service, no enemy had ever shown this kind of disrespect. Enemies feared the Empire. Enemies ran or fought back with everything they had. This ship did neither. It simply flew where it wanted, like the entire Empire fleet was an obstacle not worth fighting. "Send Talon Squadron," Yalen ordered. "Our best pilots. I want that ship stopped before it reaches the shield." Talon Squadron was the pride of the Empire's fighter corps, 5 of the most skilled pilots in the sector, flying the fastest interceptor ships available. Their leader, Captain Dresk, was a decorated war hero, known for shooting down more enemy fighters than any other pilot alive. He had medals for bravery, medals for skill, and a reputation that made junior pilots nervous just to fly beside him. "Talon Squadron, this is Dresk," he said over the comm, voice calm and sure. "One target, let's show them how real pilots fly." His 4 wingmen responded with quick confirmations. Their sleek fighters launched from the cruiser's hangar bay and shot forward, closing the distance to the unknown vessel in seconds. Dresk locked eyes on his targeting screen. The small ship was directly ahead, moving fast but not erratically now, almost like it was simply cruising. "Target acquired," Dresk said, moving in for intercept. His fighter closed the gap quickly. He lined up a clean shot, confident, steady. He had done this 1,000 times before. He pulled the trigger. The shot missed by a hair, as if the small ship had shifted at the exact last moment. "No matter," Dresk muttered. "Round 2. He adjusted his angle, fired again. Missed again. The small ship was not even trying to escape. It simply moved with tiny, perfect corrections, always staying just out of reach. "Sir, this thing is toying with us," one of his wingmen said nervously. "It's a machine reacting to sensors, nothing more," Dresk snapped back. "Stay focused, surround it. It can't dodge all of us at once." The 4 fighters spread out, forming a wide circle around the small vessel, cutting off every direction of escape. Dresk smiled to himself. No ship could escape this formation. He had used it 100 times before, always with the same result: total victory. "Fire together," Dresk ordered. "Now." All 5 fighters released their weapons at the same instant, converging fire on the small ship from every angle. For a brief moment, the vessel disappeared inside the explosion of light. Then it flew out the other side, completely unharmed, and turned sharply, directly toward Dresk's own fighter. "What?" Before Dresk could finish his sentence, the small vessel shot past him at incredible speed. There was no explosion, no impact. Strange flicker of light along his ship's hull, and then his engine shut down completely. "Systems failing," Dresk shouted, his confident voice now edged with panic. "I've lost power. I've lost—" His fighter went dark, drifting silently through space, completely disabled. The 4 remaining wingmen turned in shock. One of them called out, "Captain! Captain! Respond!" There was no answer from Dresk's ship, only silence. But his life signs remained steady on their screens. He was alive, simply powerless. The small vessel did not stay to finish him off. It did not fire another shot. It simply turned away and continued on its course toward the station, as if Talon's squadron had never existed at all. It could have killed him, one of the wingmen said quietly, voice shaking. It didn't even try. No one had an answer for why. Back in the command room, Grand Admiral Vorin watched the entire encounter unfold on the main screen, his face growing paler with every passing second. 200 ships, the Empire's best pilot, all of it, completely useless against a single small vessel that seemed to treat the entire battle like a minor inconvenience. "Sir," Petra said quietly, "the vessel just disabled Captain Dresk's fighter without destroying it. It had a clear shot to kill him. It chose not to." Vorin's mind raced. Mercy. This ship was showing mercy, even while completely dominating every force sent against it. That detail bothered him more than the impossible dodging, more than the unknown weapons. An enemy that could destroy you completely, but chose to let you live. That was not the behavior of a simple raider or rebel weapon. That was the behavior of something with purpose. Something that was not here to kill, but to prove a point, or to send a message. "Time until it reaches the outer shield?" Vorin asked. 2 minutes, sir." Vorin closed his eyes for a brief moment. 50 years of Empire strength, hundreds of conquered worlds, the greatest military machine ever built. And it had all failed to stop one small ship. "Sir, orders?" Petra asked, her voice tense. Vorin opened his eyes. There was only one option left. "Raise the core shield to maximum power," he said. "Redirect all available energy. If that ship reaches our data core, we lose more than information. We lose the illusion that the Empire cannot be touched." Across the station, engineers scrambled to follow the order, pulling energy from every possible system to reinforce the last line of defense. Alarms continued to scream through every hallway. Soldiers ran to defensive positions, though none of them truly knew what they were preparing to fight. On the main screen, the small dot continued its steady approach, calm and unstoppable, as if it already knew exactly how this would end. Grand Admiral Vorin stared at the screen, gripping the edge of his console tightly. "What are you?" he whispered to himself. "And what do you want from us?" The countdown on the screen ticked closer to 0. The small vessel reached the outer shield of Halgan Station in exactly 2 minutes, just as predicted. Every screen in the command room showed the same image. A tiny gray ship approaching a massive wall of blue light. The station's strongest shield powered by nearly every reactor on Halgan. It was a wall that had never been broken. Not once, in 50 years. Grand Admiral Vorin stood rigid, watching. Around him, officers held their breath. No one spoke, no one dared to. No one dared. The vessel slowed as it neared the shield. For the first time since the chase began, it was not moving at full speed. It hovered in place for a moment, calm and small against the massive blue barrier. "Is it stopping?" Petra asked quietly. "Maybe it finally understands it cannot get through," Vorin said, though his voice lacked confidence. Then the small ship moved forward again, slowly, deliberately, and touched the surface of the shield. The entire station shook. Alarms shifted pitch, rising into a sharper, more urgent scream. Lights flickered across every hallway. Engineers shouted over comm channels, numbers and warnings flying too fast to follow. "Shield integrity dropping," someone shouted. 15%, 20%. "This isn't possible, sir. Nothing punches through a level 5 shield this fast." "How is it doing that?" Vorin demanded. "What weapon is it using?" "Sir, it's not firing anything," an engineer replied, his voice shaking. "There's no energy discharge, no impact readings. It's like the shield is failing on its own." Vorin's stomach turned cold. A weapon that could destroy a shield was terrifying. A weapon that made a shield fail without even firing was something far worse, something the Empire did not understand at all. 40% shield integrity, the engineer called out. "Sir, at this rate, the shield collapses in under 2 minutes. Vorin clenched his jaw. 200 ships. The Empire's best fighter squadron. the strongest shield technology in the sector. None of it had made any difference. This small ship moved through every defense like the Empire simply did not exist. "Sir," Petra said suddenly, "we're receiving a signal. It's coming from the vessel." The command room went silent. "Put it through," Vorin said. A moment passed. Then a voice came over the speakers, calm, steady, almost bored. It did not sound like a machine. It sounded like a person, speaking plainly, without any fear at all. "This is Halgan Station Command," Vorin said carefully. "Identify yourself." There was a short pause. Then the voice answered, "You can call me Rin. I'm not here to hurt anyone. I just need a few minutes with your data core." The words landed like a slap across the room. Officers exchanged shocked glances. A single voice. A single pilot. Calmly telling an entire Empire station that he simply needed a few minutes. "You are trespassing in restricted Empire space," Vorin said, forcing his voice to remain firm. "Withdraw immediately, or you will be destroyed." Rin's voice came back almost amused. "With respect, Admiral, your fleet already tried that. 200 ships, your best pilot. None of it worked. I don't think threats are going to change my plans today." Vorin's hands tightened into fists at his sides. No one spoke to the Empire this way. No one. "What are you?" Vorin asked, unable to hold the question back any longer. "What kind of ship dodges everything we throw at it? What kind of pilot flies like this?" There was a brief pause before Rin answered, his voice quieter now, almost thoughtful. "I'm not a what, Admiral. I'm a who. I'm human." The word hung in the air, meaningless to most of the officers in the room. Human. It was not a term in Empire records. It matched no known species in their vast databases of allies and enemies. "There is no record of a species called human in Empire files," Vorin said slowly. "I know," Rin replied. "You've never met us before, but you're about to learn a lot more about us very soon." The shield alarm rose again. "Sir, shield integrity at 15%. It's not slowing down." Vorin's mind raced. Threats had failed. Force had failed. There was only one option left. Understanding. "What do you want from our data core?" Vorin asked, trying a different approach. "Just information," Rin said. "Your defense grid, your fleet positions, your weapon capabilities across this sector. I'm not here to destroy anything, Admiral. I'm here to look." "Why?" Another pause. When Rin spoke again, his voice carried a strange weight to it, something between calm confidence and quiet warning. "Because your empire has been expanding for 50 years, conquering everything in its path, and you're getting close to space that isn't yours to take. My people like to know exactly what we're dealing with before we decide how to respond." Vorin felt a chill run through him. This was not random. This was not an accident. This ship, this pilot, this entire event, it was planned, scouted, deliberated. "Sir," Petra said urgently, "shield integrity at 5%. It's about to fail completely." "There is nothing we can do to stop it," an engineer added, his voice hollow with defeat. "We've thrown everything we have." Vorin stared at the screen, watching the small dot sitting calmly in front of the failing shield. 50 years of Empire strength, and it all came down to this moment, completely powerless to stop a single ship. The shield shattered, blue light scattered across space like breaking glass, and then it was gone completely. For the first time in 50 years, Halgan Station stood completely exposed, its strongest defense reduced to nothing in under 3 minutes. The small vessel moved forward, calm and steady, gliding through the space where the shield had once stood. Inside the ship, Rin sat in a simple, quiet cockpit. Unlike the massive, decorated control rooms of Empire warships, his cockpit was small and practical. No unnecessary lights, no excessive decoration. Every panel had a purpose. Every system was built for one thing: survival and speed. He looked young for the reputation his ship had already built across Empire channels, maybe in his late 20s, with short dark hair and tired but focused eyes. He had done this kind of mission many times before, though never against a target quite this large.